Well. Good evening, everybody. And by everybody, I mean, I don't know, half a dozen of you at this point. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Grow some balls. Get up here on the panel if you'd like. The link is there for StreamYard. Ellison Lee, how are you? Oh, shit. Oh, thank God it warned me. I accidentally hit the X button, the click off button, the forbidden closing your tab button. And thank God it didn't drop me. I'd have been dropping myself. Let's see. Ellison. Yeah, I know I accidentally clicked off. We'll wait for a few people to come in. I hope everybody that does come in is doing well. The topic of the day is going to be guilty or innocent. And what are the differences? And I think maybe I should have added what are the commonalities between these two groups? And that'll have to be a part of it as well. The burying your head in the sand on one side and burying your head up your ass on the other. It's kind of the same thing, but different. If that makes any sense, right? The same thing, but different. Let me check us on X. Swing into X, see if we got anybody in there. Hello, is there anybody home? Let's see. I am being yeah, I am there. Yes, sir. Oh, look, it brought me right to a page. Started 2 minutes ago. I could put in there, and I've got 5 people in here. Hi, everybody from X. If you have a mobile device, or if you're on a desktop with a microphone, grow some balls, come on up on the panel, and we can have a conversation. We can have a debate. We can have an all-out fucking whatever fest. Mr. Sharp, Thomas Sharp, I don't know if they mean it. I think it's the girl. I don't know who's in that. There's 2 people in that image, if I'm not mistaken. But I am doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. Yeah. Can't complain. So, innocent or guilty? What are the differences between these two? I'd like to get someone that thinks Kohlberger's guilty to come up on the panel. And, I don't want anybody up on the panel that that wants to, pardon me, argue he's innocent because they've come up with some theory and solved the crime. I don't want any of that up here. No, I don't want to get into here. Somebody from 1492 reincarnated themselves and did the killings. Not really ready to get into that debate. Charlotte says a lot. But so what is it the difference between the two groups? Where you have, a group of people screaming he's innocent, and then a group of people screaming he's guilty. And I think the point I want to start out with, I guess, at first is you're both wrong. The innocent people and the guilty people, you're both wrong. I mean, there's no way for any of us to know that conclusively. And, to suggest that the man is out and out innocent or out and out guilty is, I think people do that just so they can contradict each other and battle back and forth. Whereas I think the answer in all of this is in the justice system itself, not into whether Mr. Kohlberger did this or not. I think a lot of people that are on the guilter side accept the interpretation of everything the state says. So if the state tells you the picture of his selfie from that mirror is a celebratory pic for his killings, that the people on one side accept everything the state tells them and are just very much sheep and robots. They don't think for themselves. So for them, there is no other reason that Brian Kohlberger could possibly bought a knife on Amazon 10 months before the crime, unless he was planning a crime. Because, the thousands of fucking K-bars that are bought every year are for killers. Whereas the people that scream he's innocent will argue that buying a K-bar isn't proof of a plan to commit murder, nor proof that the murder was committed, and argue that he's innocent. And I think you're both not really paying attention to the justice system. You're paying attention to the case, to the pardon me, to the accused, and you want to get in a battle back and forth over who's right or wrong. And I think that that's just millions and millions, tens, maybe billions of man hours wasted back and forth as to whether the images show he did it. Now, as I said before, now there's a claim that the DoorDash driver parked next to him and can identify him, which is kind of funny, only because if you, it's just funny. They say, I don't even know what time they claimed the DoorDash driver showed up. But, you would think an eyewitness report would be important in a probable cause affidavit. You would also think that there would be a motion in limine or a motion to suppress, or there'd be a fight over that witness's just over the witness itself. Like that they argue about all these witnesses and whether these witnesses are reliable or not, or blah, blah, blah. And there doesn't seem to have been any argument in that respect. What did Thomas Sharp say? Innocent until proven guilty. It is innocent until proven guilty. And that's where a lot of people then will sit on the side of the fence that says innocent. But they're not really using that terminology. They're looking at the data and interpreting the data to show that Brian is innocent. And although it may show that, on the other side of the fence, there's people that look at the same data and says that shows guilt. So the picture, we all know the facts of the case. But to me, to have either or of those sides be an argument is a bit silly, right? I mean, where's the value on that? None of us can prove his innocence nor his guilt. We don't have the capacity to do that. We don't have enough information to do that. And if you were to take, as an example, the information that we do have, it's not complete, and therefore guilty or innocent is still indeterminable until you get more information. Now, if the DoorDash information is accurate and reliable and tells the story that's being pushed out across the YouTube streets, well, that's a whole new dynamic to the case. However, I don't suspect, personally, I don't suspect the rumors are what we're being told what she's claimed to have seen. And I'm not so sure that claim has got any. It's almost like everything Steve has said. Everything Steve said came out to be a lie. Contextually, there's truth. For instance, in this particular case, there is truth that a DoorDash driver made a delivery to that home. That's absolutely unquestionable truth at this point. But our understanding up until now was that delivery took place, I think, at 3:59. People smarter than me that have kept up with the documents will know whether that's accurate or not. So we're told the DoorDash driver was cleared. And DoorDash just did not become a part of this narrative until now. In the midst of a continuance argument, all of a sudden these witnesses, there's a witness that comes out of the woodwork claiming that she saw Brian Kohlberger. I don't know that that's the statement she made while she was in custody on that camera, but I do know that there's people that took that camera turning it into that. Okay? And so you end up in a situation like you always are. There is truth in that statement about that woman, right? But is it determined for guilt or innocence? Neither. It's part of the process. And the part of the process that shouldn't be is her statements and her acknowledgement, whatever her involvement or non-involvement or were witness or non-witness statuses shouldn't have been released to the public, right? And again, it goes right back to the process of the justice system within that town. It doesn't have the capacity to do the job that it was faced to do. As a matter of fact, it didn't have the capacity to be a strong enough, a community entwined presence to even prevent the crime like that from happening. I mean, the justice system in that town is highly, highly unskilled, and unqualified, and full of people with motives that are everything for themselves and nothing for the community. And that's really, to me, the sin of this entire case, aside from obviously the horrific sins of those poor 4 people, those poor college students who were murdered, which is obviously the most significant sin. But would that happen in a community where there was a strong police force, and a lot of the shenanigans, they weren't, I know it's a college town. You can't have the Gestapo there, but there's a lot of things that happen around our college towns. And I think the policing needs to be uniquely tailored to college towns. And I'm not so sure that that's really looked at that way. It's just another place to be a police officer or a prosecutor or a lawyer. But I think that those areas, because they do involve our children, and because our children are targets for people that have nefarious desires, criminal minds, have the intent to do harm, that age group is a big target. All your younger age groups, and drugs and all the other stuff that goes along with that. I think the police forces in those communities should be trained differently. There should be a more stringent observation of what's going on around. There should be a more pleasant, kind interaction between the police and the college students. It should be a friendly atmosphere, but one that's always looking to protect and defend the people of the town. I mean, I don't get the sense that even exists there, or for many police departments, not even just this one. And so the guilters, everything the guilters see, they interpret shows guilt. Everything that the guilters claim shows guilt. The people that say he's innocent claims that it shows he's innocent. And the answer is really, like we saw here recently with the Karen Reed case, the answer really isn't what we think or what we say. The answer is going to be to the people that are impaneled in that jury. And I think the Karen Reed case is an example of what I've been saying. This stage of the proceeding is Ann dealing with the judge. The next stage will be Ann dealing with a jury. And a jury, given the facts in a simple order, in the order that they happen, but in simple descriptions, is really going to be what makes this case go forward, and will show Brian to be innocent, or it won't. Well, there's a lot of problems. That's sort of the frat. That frat was connected with crimes that were happening because it's a frat that's nationwide. That frat's got issues. They know that frat's got issues. Some of it's very, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you, Carl. There's our universities are just really, they're targets for drug cartels and sex traffickers, and it didn't get any better when they let in 20 million illegal immigrants. Of which many millions of them are, they I don't know, man, how you think. It would be like you go into a third world nation, and you might have more of a capacity, you would think, to integrate into their society, but you have no more of that capacity than they have the capacity to integrate into our society. It's a process when you go from country to country, especially when you're talking about countries that are repressed. Right? Countries that don't have the technological advancement and the transportation availability and all the things that we have here, we take for granted. You'd be fucked if you moved out into some place in the rainforests of Brazil or something. You wouldn't know what the fuck to do. And you're letting them people come here, and they don't know what the fuck to do when they're here either. The concrete jungle is no more safe for a third worlder than the jungle is safe for a first worlder. I mean, you end up with this big disparity of understanding of the world, and they clash. So, it's crazy. And that's our college towns are surrounded by Not just illegal immigrants. Of course, there's criminal fucking elements of the American people have criminal elements that target these communities. And it's tragic. I don't think most parents realize that there's a risk of sending your child to a university and to live on campus. You're putting them right in the middle of a hornet's nest, and you got to hope that they don't get stung. They don't get something slipped in their drink. They don't get some freak sneaking into their room. They don't get abducted. They don't whatever. Some college professor tries to take advantage of them. There's just so much that your young adult that's got no experience with the real world is walking into unawares, just totally unaware until something like this happens. And it's just very sad. And there's no real effort on behalf of the police in those communities to do anything special for those communities. And those communities do need special attention. They need a special, maybe a unique type of interaction between the police and the community. And I think it needs to be a less formal, more mingling kind of interaction. How can he say no when it's written in law or long books of citizenship? Well, what did Hitler rule on the motion to continue? I really haven't been on. Has he ruled on the continue yet? Has there been any more rulings on anything yet? We've got that wonderful number 69 up on the screen, 69 viewers. This is going to be a very chill stream. And I just wanted to go over some of the differences. I think when somebody says that they got a suspect vehicle 1, and that suspect vehicle 1 cannot be connected to Kohberger directly because it had a certain hubcap, or it had a dent, or it had a sticker, or it had a scratch, or it had a unique feature that would say that fits Brian Kohberger's car exactly. Or there's no images of Brian driving the car. There's no, because, listen, I've got traffic images from my vehicle in a work zone, and you could see me in the truck. In New York, they got rid of the toll booths, and they got these cameras that do the tolls, and you could see me driving when I go through the toll, because I refuse to give New York State my credit card. They can lick my ass. I'm not giving them my credit card. I don't trust them with my data. So they bill me. They send me a pay by mail, and they charge me way more than it's supposed to be, but I really don't care. Is there any price you can place on security? And the answer is no. So I don't mind paying the extra, but you do see in the image the driver. So the cameras have the capacity. No, he didn't say that, Thomas Sharp. He didn't say that that's his decision. He said that the two sides should consider it and work towards what was said and what's scheduled. But he didn't make his ruling. But of course, he's given them sound advice. Continue to act as if the date's not going to change. But he didn't say that. In other words, that's not his ruling. So he didn't really come to that conclusion, and he did not say that it's going to continue as scheduled. So yeah, so I suspect that if there was something more definitive on the identification of the vehicle, leaving out that I've made the point and shown, and so is Ann Taylor, that the car they're tracking going to Moscow cannot be Brian Kohberger. Taking that out of the equation, because a lot of guilters just don't read, and that's one of the problems with the guilters, is they hear a narrative, and anything that fits that narrative, they're going to stick to that narrative until someone puts until the day they pass, okay? Everything they see will be through that lens, and that's it. There's nothing that you can say to them, folks, that's going to penetrate that lens. And they don't realize that when they make arguments in an attempt to try to penetrate what they consider to be our lens, that they can't penetrate it because they're using information we already can see, because 1 and 1 does not make 3, right? So, but again, unlike most of you that interpret that to show him being innocent, I don't interpret it that way. I just don't. If this DoorDash driver is credible, and there's something that shows that she could actually be a eyewitness to his being there, Show me. I'm not going to say that woman isn't credible or what we saw on video means she's unworthy. In other words, I'm not going to judge what she has to say until it's said, and until the facts of what she has to say are questioned by the defense. I can't say anything negative against the girl because I saw a video of her inside of a on a body cam from an interrogation inside of a police station, substation. That's situational. That's that situation. Okay. And now you need to see the situation that is being said she's a witness. And I don't doubt that she's a witness. She's a witness to the timeline. There's no question about that. And you all have to accept that, right? I think we can all accept that. She's definitely a witness to the claimed timeline established by the state. Her delivery time is part of the narrative. Now, as far as anything else that's going to be said from her, if it is anything beyond that, only time will tell. And so at this point, I'm very open to have a solid piece of concrete evidence show Brian Kohberger's presence at that crime scene. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not railing against it. If it exists, I'd like to see it because they've not shown it as of yet. And that's where, especially I'm going to call them guilters. That's where myself and the guilters separate paths. And that's where myself and those that think he's innocent separate paths. I haven't seen it, but the key word is yet. Well, you know, but Darius, you that's your particular opinion. You don't know that. You don't know these people. You don't know what happened with her and what she was told or not told. You don't know that. And that's an opinion. Okay. I'm not going to make my basis of judgment on your opinion. I don't know that to be true. I don't know anything that's been going around about her to be true at all, other than the DoorDash driver, whoever it may be, is part of this narrative and always has been. That's an unarguable fact. We all known about a DoorDash, right? And we know it was that woman, MM, right? What's her name? Mary McCullough? That may be true. Hey, what's up there, Beach Babe? Like the name, not so sure about the dog though, and your image. And as I always say, everybody is free to come out on panel. But if McMichael, if you're gonna try to convince me of your theory of who did it, I don't want to hear it. That shit don't fly with me. I don't give a fuck. Yep, welcome to everyone. Thank Carl for pointing that out. I like to see what may in fact be evidence. And Jack and Lily Sullivan still missing after 6+ weeks. Let's break this down. I was just reading. Dago started a stream on the other two, but I think if you want to know the truth, I think I can make this pretty simple. When it comes to people that insist everything the state tells them proves his guilt, there's a group of people that somehow have become convinced that the sense is being made by themselves. When they, in other words, they've already decided no matter what, Brian did this crime because that's what they were told, right? That's what they were told. We got Donald DeNice wants to come up here. Never heard of Donald DeNice. We'll see. Give him a second. Here. What's going on there, DeNice?
I'm just chilling, relaxing.
Can't really hear you. You got to speak into a mic or turn your mic up.
Yeah, it's a tablet mic. I might have to get that other mic. Yeah.
You have the floor. Say whatever you come to say, but like I said, there are limits. If you're going to sell me some theory of who did it, I don't want to hear it.
No. I'm going to wait till I see the whole. I need to see the whole trial before I can make a judgment. I was on that guilt trial at first, But right now, I need to see the whole trial. With all this chaos, all this wildness and stuff, it's just you don't know what to think. It's no case like this either. That's never been like this either.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's never been, but I think this is the most modern, most recent one for us. We've got, especially with the social media involvement here.
Yeah, that
And your
opens
mic,
a can of chaos.
your mic is very hard to understand because it breaks up and which is a shame because I enjoy when other people come up on the stream here for the panel.
Let me try to fix it. I'll go get my other mic.
Yeah, can you get closer to it or something? You do have yourself muted. Man.
Yeah, I gotta find it real quick.
Okay. So I don't know where the story came that she's someone's out there saying that she saw or he parked next to her or she parked next to him. It's like he's the boy genius that's done everything idiotic, I guess. I really don't know. I have no idea what all of that means with that DoorDash driver. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But up until the announcement or the actual proof that person is the DoorDash driver, it's just more noise. And it seems like there's never any noise that's positive for Kohlberger. Every single thing that gets leaked to the media is a story that's against Kohlberger, but no facts to support the story. And then like usual, the facts when they finally do come out will not support the argument they're making on this very moment in time. Whether it be Steve Gonzalez making the argument or it be the media making the argument, all of their arguments get disproven, but then never talk about the disproven arguments that they were using to destroy this guy. It's quite a mess.
It's to all fit an agenda. I think it's all to fit an agenda.
That's better. You're coming across way better. Yeah, it is, and that's what our justice system does when they don't have evidence.
Well, it's the most wild case, but like I've always said, there's no perfect case on any crime, any case, unless they got they got you on video or they got your audio something. Those are the only times they're slam dunks, but cases are hardly ever that.
Yeah, I want to address that. Why is 2 a.m. the dark hour? That's the opinion of one of the victim's parents, and that's their opinion. I don't know what it means. Only they do.
Did you ever hear that this lately starts Friday? That it didn't even start it. It didn't even start till 4:00. They claim he got in the house at 4:08. The crime didn't even really start till 4:17 was the latest I heard.
Well, if you look at my screen, it shows right on the screen what I've been showing people for a while now. Of course, the crime didn't start at 4:17.
When the dog, that's similar to when the dog started barking, right?
Right, and it didn't stop barking for 30 minutes.
And that's when I think it went down. I don't think they're beginning of the timeline when he parked at like 4:08, 4:07. He didn't even get up to the third floor till, like you said, 4:17 on that little.
But it couldn't have been. Wait. It couldn't have been the person in that white car, though.
Yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't take.
No, wait, let me finish. The white car sped away at 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed.
Yeah, so that would be less than 3 minutes.
How could that be? So, in other words, the white car is completely irrelevant.
I still say 2 cars in play. I won't ever forget that. I won't say until I see different. I'll believe there's 2 cars in play.
Yeah, well, that happens with a lot of you guys out here, and people don't. You got to deal with the data that's verifiable and stop believing one thing and then trying to take your belief and impose it on a situation that you can't impose your belief on information that tells you a story. Because then what you're doing is you're making up your own story now. You're feeding back into the microphone here. When I talk, it's feeding back. You got YouTube on? Turn the volume of YouTube off. and use just StreamYard. See, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to show people. Thinking is a process of thought, not belief. And you can believe that 8 people committed this crime, but when you look at the data they're using to try to prosecute Brian Kohlberger, you can't impose that belief on what you're viewing, or you're going to make big mistakes in your views, and you're going to go down a rabbit hole that you can never fill. So the idea that you know, that's where all these other streamers make all their coin, the Pavarottis and all these other guys. And it's great. I'm going to let them earn all the money. But my whole goal up here is to show people that whether the data they give you is true or false isn't even relevant. It's the only information that you can confirm. Even if it's a fucking lie, eventually you'll realize it's a lie and you'll be able to confirm that. And that means something, right? The fact that you discover a lie. Yeah.
It all will have to come down at the trial, because you can't lie in a trial.
But the evidentiary argument that they've given the public so far falls way short of putting Brian anywhere near that home. That doesn't mean he didn't do it. But the argument they're making, to me, appears to be the one way that you can show he didn't do it. Right?
Yep. Like I said, so much leans, like you said, so much it's not solid nail in the coffin proof is what you're saying.
Right. There's no way to identify that car that it belongs to Brian.
Yeah, there's no license plate you can see. There's no identifying, like some kind of identifying that makes unique to confirm it's his car.
Right. And when they argue about all these different locations, none of those locations can independently confirm that car belongs to Brian Kohlberger.
Plus,
so
there's so many white cars, cars like that in that town.
Even worse, the cameras are infrared, and therefore you're not going to get color of the vehicle. It's either going to be black or white. A silver car will show up white. So correct. The cameras themselves are their only reliability would be really if they showed a unique hubcap, a parking lot sticker, a cracked glass, a dent in the door,
or some kind of mark or scratch that you can't get rid of on a certain type of on that exact car.
And because none of the video footage shows anything to make that car unique to Brian, it's like serving horse shit and calling it steak. It won't fly. Right? It just will not stick. And that's where the jury comes in, where the defense is.
The jury, it all comes down to them, not us or anybody else. It comes down to that jury they see, whoever they see in that jury.
Right. I don't doubt that she saw a white car. I'm not going to argue that she did or didn't. So we don't know what she saw. And until that data comes out, we're going to have to just wait. Just like we didn't know what the 8-hour delay contained, and we still don't know. But what we now know contradicts the entire argument that the state presented in its filings and in its narrative that the media was pushing. These victims, these poor victims that went to bed, they went to sleep at 4:37 a.m. and woke up at 10:23 and called their friends. I mean, that's such a lie. And that data is being filled in, and it's just being filled in. There is no way to interpret that as evidence against Brian Kohlberger. It just puts these two girls in very, very, very precarious places as being suspicious. And why is the state lying?
They're the only two that they're at the time of the incident.
Who's in charge of this narrative? I mean, that matters to me. Who's been leaking this information and giving information to the one parent and Dateline and these other book writers?
Who do you think? I know who I think. I think it's the FBI. Yeah, that's who I think too.
Yeah. Right. And the idea that you could just, you're going to be Salem witch hunters, and because the police told you that's his car, that means it's his car. You just really need your head examined. People that go at it, and there's millions of people that go about it that way. That's what. Yeah. They didn't arrest him for nothing.
Well, there's a lot of innocent people in jail too. You got to remember that.
There's a lot of innocent people in jail. There's a lot of guilty. I mean, there's more guilty people in jail than innocent. Let's at least accept that, right? But you see somebody smash a car window out, or you catch someone behind the wheel of a stolen car, there really isn't any investigation needed.
No, because that's solid proof.
Yeah, why is it when investigation is needed do all these different police departments and prosecuting agencies fuck it up?
It's about money, control, and power. and its agenda, and it's broken. The whole system's broken.
Whole system is broken. Yeah, you can describe all the reasons you want, but that's the simplest statement. The system is broken. The Karen Reed case, that system is fucked up from the floor up. And the people that were involved in that case should all be sanctioned and sent and discharged.
You mean
Every
the corruption?
and attorney attached, even the second attorney that took the case, when the state took the case and other attorneys wouldn't take it. And this attorney stood up to take the case again. He should be terminated. He should be billed for that trial. So should the cops. So should the district attorney. Anybody in the judge shouldn't have let that case come through a courtroom. The judge should have ruled against
all
the
that
case
money now. Plus another thing, Sarge, Freddie, my bad. It's all about the money. There's too much money in it nowadays too.
I don't even know if it's money more than it's the people thinking I'm the law, shut the fuck up, and what I say goes. There's so much of that in our system, and it's not that they're getting money to be like that. They're just arrogant pricks that shouldn't have that job.
Called power tripping. That's called power tripping.
Well, it's systemic corruption, just like Black Lives Matters is trying to sell, but they don't understand how to sell it. Corruption is not money driven always. Corruption isn't because you're part of a criminal cartel. Corruption is trained into the system, and the corruption is directly, I'm the law, you're the citizen, shut the fuck up and sit down. That's the corruption they train our officers.
It's to control your people. It's to control the population of people whatever way they can, so they don't have mass revolt or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Well, the corruption is that they separate these people from everybody else. They put themselves on a pedestal, and they are not judge, jury, and executioner as they all think they are. For the most, not all police are like this. Not all prosecutors are like this, but so many of them exist that it's a nationwide problem. Right?
It's turned into a pandemic.
A pandemic of corruption, but again, I think most people think corruption means, like in the Karen Reed case, they were covering for that one family, and that might obviously be true, but for the most part, folks, corruption is more in line with, I'm the law, right? And you're just a citizen. I know you don't. Hang on, we're going to add someone to the stage here named Scott, so bear with me here, Donald. I know you don't. Scott.
Yeah, hold on. Let me mute my channel.
Your channel?
My YouTube on my TV, so you can hear me.
Oh, all right. What's going on,
so
Scott?
I agree with everything you're saying. I just think the amount of evidence that would disprove his case has been disappeared or is not. They've fucking lost. The cops have fucking lost everything that would prove he didn't do it, which I find fucking astonishing.
I don't think that that's true. I think everything, as I said when I got into true crime in February 2017, after I read the probable cause affidavit, my statement was this: the entire argument is exculpatory to the defendant, and everything that they say proves his guilt is in fact exculpatory to benefit him, because none of the arguments can identify him or that vehicle at that crime scene ever.
Yeah.
The only they show him. They claim he was at WSU at 2:47 a.m. and they claim they picked him up at 4:47 a.m. But they cannot locate him anywhere in between those times.
Yeah.
Right?
That on its own should just fucking have the thing. I agree with you. You don't even have to go further than that.
Right.
That's really, I agree wholeheartedly. And looking into all these other fucking theories is pointless. It's like, just base it on the initial probable cause, like you're saying. It fucking disproves their entire case. Yeah, so just throw the fucking thing out.
Right. And someone here said the other thing too is, and I can't stress this enough, every transfer DNA conviction has been overturned because of other DNA at the scene that was left untested. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's a comment from the fucking chat room, which is damn. Hello, nurse. It could have made their case if samples were Brian. Yeah, and none of it is Brian Kohlberger's DNA, as the father led us to believe. As Steve Gonclaves led us to believe, you transfer DNA, people don't even realize that there's much more than that at the scene. And he's right. Just none of it belongs to Brian.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Thanks,
I don't
Snooper.
even think the button snap shit will stick. It's like, dude, where the fuck did that go?
I don't know. Well, here's the, like I keep saying, if you're going to try to investigate microscopic data, if you're going to try to find something microscopic, okay, you need to be prepared for the microscopic search, not in windbreakers and sneezing in the house, okay?
No, yeah, exactly. And how, if you can't fucking see it with your own fucking eyes, what would lead you to the point where, hey, I'm going to test this button snap and leave everything else untested?
And not the blood on the sheath. Why didn't you scrape that sheath? Yeah, man, I would have scraped that sheath with a surgical knife to get the flecks of blood off of it to test it.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
I would not have covered it with fingerprint powder to see if there were fingerprints on it and find nothing. As far as we know, we don't know if there's fingerprints on the knife sheath. We've not been told yay or nay. We don't know.
Yeah,
we just know they based on and they covered it. It's useless now because they covered it.
Now you can't retest it.
No, yeah.
So it's not even fucking evidence. It's like you just fucking your only piece of evidence you fucking basically destroyed. I mean, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, and this is where our problem is. It's with the prosecution, it's with the investigative team, it's with the forensics team, it's with the state police, it's with the Moscow police. These people are highly, highly inadequate to even go attempt to do that task. It's like giving a midget, okay, a basketball and tell him to go win the game.
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah, good luck with that. Put him on someone's shoulders, and you might have a chance, right?
It was too big of a case for that whole area.
Listen, anything more than a traffic stop is too big of a case for that area.
That's true. And they showed it.
They showed it when they tried to convict that chiropractor for killing his competition. Ignored the evidence that said he didn't do it, and they manipulated the evidence, just like in Koberger's case.
100%. I know Lana did a big fucking to-do on that, and she's 100% right. You're 100% right. Like, they're fucking, it's like, are they that fucking corrupt, or are they that stupid? It's one or the other.
Both. I think both.
But they're so used to getting. See, this is why I say they're really not even qualified for the job in that particular community, because I'm the law. I'll go 55 and a 25, and you shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's how our cops are trained, and they, even as they're going through the training, they don't even realize themselves that breaking the law is a crime, even for them. But they never get held to account for breaking the same crimes you and I get held to account for.
Yeah,
and that's where it needs to start. You want to fix the system needs to be policed from the inside, and they need records of everywhere they go. Yeah. You can now know if it's a 30-mile-an-hour zone and they're going faster than 35, that policeman should get a citation. You should get a ticket.
Yeah.
You don't even need people in the car. You could do that electronically now.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're in but Moscow has one prosecutor. They're fucking, the person that did the autopsies or whatever, she's a fucking defense lawyer.
The corner had like 5 jobs.
It's like,
yeah, but over there it's different. They're not the surgeon that'll do the autopsy. So when you talk about Ma Butt, that's not her role.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying they got like one person to fill each job. So there's really nobody fucking looking. Unless this thing got mainstream coverage, nobody would know fucking shit about it to begin with. I mean, that's another thing.
Well, the internet's made a difference in a lot of
things. Well, yeah. Hopefully for the good, but fuck, who knows?
Well, good news today from the Supreme Court. You cannot use gender assignment drugs on people under 18. Victory.
Yeah.
That's a big, I mean, that's like, you got to be an idiot.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Listen, I grew up with two stepsisters. I played with dolls. I put on girl shoes and walked around laughing. Okay. That's what you do when you're 4 years old. You don't know. You're never even thinking about a difference in sex. You're just a little kid. And
they should have a doctor fucking dictate what they do with the rest of their fucking lives. No, that's the way to go down. Fucking, that's crazy.
So, it's nice that they straightened that out. They got that made and they codified that, because it's just, I don't even know, man.
It's set law.
What's that?
It'll be set law now in every state.
Oh yeah, federally, you cannot use those drugs on anyone under the age of 18. Yeah.
I'm telling you though, California looks for fucking some kind of loophole to throw that shit out. Fuck.
What is that? Someone said effing criminal. You could in the first place. I don't know what that means, David Bird. I haven't seen your name.
Sarge, I'm gonna let you go, man. I appreciate what you do, though.
All right. Well, thanks. Good for stepping in, because a lot of people don't step in.
Well, yeah, I mean, I watch your show and it's like, fuck, I agree with everything this dude's saying. Throw it, like, just break it down to the first fucking thing they started. And there you have it. It's done. It's over. Throw it out. It's fucking, they fucked it up. It's fucked up.
Right.
So, yeah,
and even if this kid do it, even if this kid did it, the fact that they're presenting a case that allows him to get away with it is even worse.
I say that's what I don't understand about this Gonzalez guy. It's like, is that what you fucking want? You want a dude to get convicted on so much bullshit that you'll never be able to sleep at night knowing that there's this many questions? It's crazy.
He knows what he's doing, and I don't know his motive, but everybody has a motive.
Yeah, there's something going on. Yeah.
I don't know what it is with him.
Yeah, there's something though.
Off, something way off.
Oh, okay, Dave. Sorry, but I do agree with David. He's right. It's criminal to use gender drugs. It's not gender drugs. Here's what I don't know if you guys even know. Do you know what those drugs really are?
Yeah, they're suppressors of hormones.
No,
something like that. I don't know.
They're castration drugs.
Yeah,
like steroids.
Castration drugs. That's what they are. You're castrating your child by giving them drugs.
Yeah, that's fucking debaucherous. Fuck.
And Thomas is right. The state will not admit. But here, we the people should be going and pointing out the state. Bill Thompson jumping up and down that there was no stalking, and now he's talking about it. And this, in front of this judge, he's bringing up 23 times he was in that area. So what if he was in the area 23,000 times? Fuck you, Bill.
Within the vicinity of the cell tower.
Listen, here's another thing. They said
in a community with 2 cell towers. Fuck.
Koberger's phone connected to within 300 meters of the home, connected to a cell tower within 300 meters of, or his phone connected to some. Another what they said was 300 meters. And here's the thing: it didn't connect to their Wi-Fi. Right? It didn't connect to their home. It clearly, it's evidence that he wasn't near the home. It's proof that he wasn't near the home. It's not proof that he did something.
No, there's 2 towers, according to them, in the entire fucking community. That means if he has his cell phone on, he's going to be on one of those towers. The
not
fuck
just
does it matter?
That's another form of how these people are insistent that they're right and you're wrong. There is more towers.
Yeah, no, I know that, but according to them, there's only 2. So
they only use 2, and that's their argument, that those 2 towers. But the story those 2 towers tell you is that they never connect Brian to the house.
Yeah, 100%.
That's exculpatory for Brian.
Yeah, I agree. That right there, like, fuck. Okay, it should. What if it was 302 fucking times? What would that fucking matter? He lives 5 miles away. Fuck.
Right. It's a little more than that, but within
8 miles,
but so
10 miles,
that,
whatever.
But so close that for him to be in that area bouncing off of them towers is it would be expected. Be weird if he didn't.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's what I mean. Everything they allege is actually, if you look at it for what it says, it's exculpatory.
Yeah.
And that's the sadness. And then you have to try. Here's the other thing too, and I'm telling you, Brett Payne admitted that he didn't know anything about DNA on a knife sheet, but that the FBI had given him the name Brian Koberger. And I said this a long time ago, that it's difficult when given an unknown sample of any form of DNA to match that. Yeah, and the reason for that is because the markers that you share with somebody is going to vary. So, like, everything is statistics. People don't realize DNA is not a fingerprint. It's a statistical analysis of probability. That is not, in other words, that's not perfect. A fingerprint can't be argued. There's no evidence that there's ever been 2 fingerprints alike. There is no evidence to show that ever. But there is evidence to show you that you can have 6 markers of a baby from some girl that you never slept with. I promise you that is a fact. Okay, so of the markers that they look for commonality, you share those markers with people that aren't even related to you.
Yeah, because you're a human being.
Don't know this about DNA, and so you're going to go looking through this plethora of fucking information and come up with an answer within days.
Yeah, no. I don't. Yeah, I agree.
They must have got 1,000 potential relative hits, maybe 10,000 relative hits on that DNA sample that they didn't know who it belonged to. That's the key. It's not like when I send you my DNA with my name, my
Mhm.
birthday.
Yeah, they got a fucking map already written out for them already.
They know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. They got a starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's crazy. It really is.
Nonsense. Yeah, but you're right, though. They're using the ignorance of the public to their advantage.
And boy, is there a lot of ignorant motherfuckers out here.
Yeah.
Right? I say, I got to put up my banner. I'll tell you how many ignorant. Watch the screen. See the screen there?
Yeah.
5.63 billion morons on social fucking media.
Yeah.
People just have not, they've been taught to not think anymore. You've been taught not to think. You've been taught to follow narratives and context that other people have given you. And their context is their context, which is fine. If you think seeing a car leaving WSU means Brian is heading to the crime scene to kill people, if that's what you believe, there's something wrong in your brain. It hasn't been conditioned to think, because that's evidence of nothing. Evidence of cars going fast, evidence of cars that may or may not be white on an infrared camera, headlights shining on a fucking tree. None of that's evidence of nothing other than you're able, oh, look, mommy, there's a car. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's sad.
It's shocking.
I think that, like Karen Reed, I think the jury will exonerate Brian Kohlberger, which could be the worst thing in the world if he is involved here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, I don't give a fuck about Kohlberger personally. I just think it's fucking insane. It's like, if you're going to bring people up on charges with literally no fucking provable evidence, that puts everybody in fucking jeopardy. Like, that's my fucking issue. I could care less about this fucking kid.
Here's another issue. You're smart enough to swab for transfer DNA. You've shown us that based on the statements you've made about where and what you found, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why didn't you swab the inside of that glove that had blood on it?
Yeah, that's mind-boggling.
If you're gonna fucking find, listen, if you want to find transfer DNA that nobody can argue ain't theirs, that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, dude. Like, how do you not test fucking what you can see with your own eyes? You don't test that, but you do test what you can't see.
But the invisible inside of a glove is an unarguable sample that you could produce that the guy could say, could never argue I didn't wear the glove.
100%.
Right? That's what I mean. If you're capable of discovering microscopic particles that are skin cells, how the fuck did that glove get ignored?
Yeah. That right there fucking shows you. It's like, you're capable of this high level testing, but you're not capable of doing the most obvious. Yeah,
the most basic. So if they would have came back and said that through our examination and through our DNA testing on the interior of the glove, we found Brian Kohlberger's DNA. You couldn't argue with that.
No, you couldn't. And here's the fucking test it yourself if you don't believe us.
Jump up, Jesse. No, and that's what I mean. But none of the things they give us are explainable to show he committed the crime. And as I put on that screen, there's no way to argue that it didn't start at 417. I don't care what the guilters say or what the innocent people want to. I don't believe me. Look at the facts they've shared with the public, and that's an unarguable fact at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, they painted themselves into a fucking corner. 100%.
They did paint themselves in a corner because that then eliminates all videos of the car.
Exactly.
They're all irrelevant now, right?
Everything's irrelevant now. Fuck.
Wait. Jesse says he's sick. What did you catch? Some kind of jungle flu? Jesse? He's in a third world country. This guy, we might have shit growing off his fucking thighs or something. You never know.
Oh, Jesus. Jesse, you with us?
He might have some jungle disease, folks. Better pray for Jesse. We don't want him to grow a second head or something.
All right, Sarge, I'm going to take off, man. But hey, like I said, appreciate what you do. And I think people should listen to what you're saying a lot more than all the bullshit rabbit holes they go through.
I'm happy that I haven't looked in a while. What am I up to? 2,800 users or subscribers, which is pretty good. So 2,800 people are interested. We might have to say that's start. So anyone else, you're welcome to come up on panel, even if you disagree with me. I'd like to see how you how you can rationalize the state's evidence. He bought a knife. Okay. Is it the knife? Did you recover that knife? Why, when you went through his home in Pennsylvania, did you tell us about a folding, I don't even know, like a craftsman knife and a cutlery knife with sheath? And then you listed the third knife that you found as just a plain old knife. I don't think there is such a thing as a plain old knife. You'd like to see me debate who's mask guy? I'd have a discussion with mask guy. We'd have to, we should set it up so that there's 2 or 3 minute responses, and then mute your mic. Somebody find mask guy and tell him to get his ass in here. Is he a big fat guy? Why is his name mask guy? That indicates he's some big fat dude, which is fine if you're a fat dude. I mean, it's all up to your individual tastes. Well, Jesse, you never told us what you got. What do you get? What kind of a disease do you got? You got jungle fever? What, cat scratch? What do you got, Jesse? He got the cat scratch fever. Oh, you're not sick? So you're telling, man, you sound like a fucking prosecutor for the Brian Koberger case, Jesse. Now he's not sick. I wouldn't mind debating a guy named Mask Guy, whoever the hell that is. No idea who that is. Causing lack of sleep. Oh. Yeah, lack of sleep is no good. Mask Guy is an idiot. Does he? Oh, Twiz is in here. Look at that. The great Twizzle Stick. Bring your ass up here, Twizzle Stick. Don't give us all these reasons about games and this and that. You got to walk the disabled guy's dog from around the corner, or, you know, God only knows the excuses you have. He gets his info from Grok. Well, I don't know anything about I never talked to Grok about this case, in all fairness. I talked to Grok about other things, trying to understand the essence of what I've donned to be dark light. He'd do a bathroom break. Had to do a bathroom break. No problem. Everybody's welcome. If you're on, you dropped off, that's fine. If you want to come back in, that's fine too. Twizzle Stick, come in and share something. Oh, upper respiratory infections are a nightmare. Yeah, no good. So anyway, with differences between the innocent and the guilty, I think you're both sides of the coin are missing the target. Both sides of the coin are not paying attention to what I keep pointing out is systemic corruption, inadequate investigation, inadequate fucking. You see a piece of information and you treat it through a lens. You treat it through a lens. Who's William? I would really like for you to talk about William. Who's William? William who? Feel better, Kara, and get some sleep, Jesse, since you're not sick. Twiz has got some reason why he can't come up, and I don't blame him. It's okay. You know, that's why I say grow balls and get up on panel. There might be they got Miracle Grow for plants. There might be Miracle Grow for balls, as far as I know. But hey, here's a question. How many of you remember I got my Alexa to say, my balls itch? How many of you guys remember that? Just tap a Y or a 1. A lot of you regulars should have heard where I got my Alexa. I can get my Alexa to say whatever I want it to say. But the one thing I got it to say was, my balls itch. And I want to present now, how many people know that comes from a movie? For all you movie aficionados. How many people know that statement, my balls itch, comes from a movie? Because I've been saying this for years. All right? And I don't think anybody even realizes that statement I got from a movie a long time ago. Do any of you realize or know what movie that was? Where the statement, my balls itch, is part of the fucking movie? Do any of you know? I say it on Daniel's channel. I type it. I'll type into someone's stream, MYBALZ itch, right? A friend of Brian's that posted a couple of videos defending Brian, but got taken down. Not sure if he took them down. No, not John Travolta. No, I'm going to play it for you. But that is part of a movie. And it goes way back in the day. But let me just see if it comes up here. It will come up. Hang on. All right. You guys don't know what movie. All right. I'm going to show you. I'm going to probably end up having to play it twice because I'm not so sure how it's going to start here. Hang on. I got to refresh it. Hang on. Back up.
My balls itch! My balls itch! Hey man! Hey man! Hey, where are you? Hey, I'm over here! Hey! Hey! I'm right here, man! Where are you? I'm right here! Oh wow! Well, where you been, man? Hey man, they trained me up, man. They put me in here, man. I've been looking all over for you, man. Hey man, we're in a nut house, man. Hey, you know where we are, man? What? We're in a nut house. Yeah. Hey man, they got me chained up, man. Wow, they got you chained up. Yeah, come on, man, get me out of here, man. People are nuts. Hey, no, get the key, man. Get the key, it's locked up. It's locked up. Yeah, get the key. I gotta get a key. Yeah. Hey, they think I'm the doctor, man. Yeah? They put me in charge of medication. Oh, that's heavy. And I'll be right back, man. Okay, hurry up.
Hold on, Delby.
Okay, get the key and get me out of here, man. Hurry up, man. Hey, man, scratch my balls, man. Hey. Hey, man. Anybody scratch my balls?
So that's where I got that statement from. My balls itch. Oh man, back in the day they were fucking funny as hell. Now I don't see it as funny, but that scene is funny. Hey! I know that, and I've been saying that probably for forever, man. And I just wanted people to see where I got it from because it is kind of a weird fucking thing to just randomly shoot out there. My balls itch. It's like, what the fuck is that guy talking about? But now you have context, right? Context matters. That's what thinking does. Thinking gives you the capacity to understand or create or even form a context. And it's a shame that most of us don't really think. I'm guilty of it as well at times. Hopefully less than the average bear, but God only knows. What's up there, Delby Rush? You are free to speak. And don't tell us your balls itch. But that shit is fucking hilarious, isn't it? Now, I want to say this, not trying to get people to jump out of here, but Lana has got what I think may be an interesting stream. In as much as she's talking about, I think, something to do with the DoorDasher. And so Truth and Transparency, that's the name of her stream. You're free to, I mean, I just want to let you know that may have some good content to it as far as some DoorDash information and how the DoorDash information has changed over time and how the state may be involved in some shenanigans with it or not. I'm not so sure. Misconduct. So I want people to know that Truth and Transparency is doing that. And You're welcome. I mean, if you're curious about that or you want to do a replay, that's fine too. Beach Babe, have a good night. But for those of you, I just want to remind you, 10 o'clock her stream is supposed to start. And, you know, I want to advertise for it. You don't need to do anything for me or that, but I just think it would be for those that want to catch it. It may be a very good stream, right? Watch her on play, says Twizzle Stick. Are you going to get your ass up here, boy? Boy, what are you doing, boy? Grow some, Twiz.
No, my mic is muted. I was talking the whole time.
I bet you were. What are you doing, boy?
Well, I was going to watch Lana, actually, and then I saw your live was going, and, you know, I had my 10 o'clock.
I'm curious what she's going to be putting out, you know?
Yeah, well, her thumbnail says prosecutorial misconduct, and it's something new. So
that may be. Maybe this DoorDash driver is somebody they never placed forward in discovery until now. Yeah,
that could very well be.
Right. And now you got, what, 2.5 years into it, and finally you're going to tell us you have a witness? And here's how we find out. We find out because it was on YouTube.
Yeah. It's something that was unrelated to the case.
But directly related in the conversation that was broached by the fucking criminal that was in the police barracks there.
Right? Exactly.
So the fact that got released and the public now sees it, right? If that not this information in that video, but if that woman's identification and her testimony was never turned over to the defense, that's a fucking problem. So
well, you would think so, except that in Idaho, they don't really worry too much about those discovery deadlines.
Well, yeah, apparently they don't, because the discovery deadlines are just crushed over and over again. And I want to correct myself to the group out here. In fact, Ann has filed 7 motions to compel, and it's just crazy. And so when I said it appears like she's not fighting hard enough, I'm going to pull some of that back, because now that I've seen evidence that in fact I missed, there is an argument to be made that she's doing all that she can, and so you know, my humble apology to my lack of information, Delby.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I think she's, you know, I don't dislike the person. I mean, how could I? I don't even know her, but I do have some issues with the things that she says that she controls. Sometimes she just sounds confused, and she says like things that lead to other things that causes things. I mean, she actually has a statement like that in there, and she starts too many sentences with the word "well," and she'll say something like, "Well, that was before we understood that," you know, and whatever it may be, which is just a backwards way of saying that you were labeled so we didn't know. But she's always sounding like guilty, you know. She's like she's guilty of something or has done something wrong.
Huh. Yeah,
to me, and she's not aggressive enough. Well, I don't think she's prepared either.
I think she's somewhat prepared to as much as you can be, because again, court, you expect it to go in a direction, and then you're caught off, your footing is caught off guard. Suddenly it comes like when she was totally blown out of the water when Hitler was saying, "Are you trying to say that the owner of that DNA they found in that knife sheath has got the 4th Amendment protection to privacy?" And she was so flabbergasted.
And she should not have been blown out.
No, but she should have, because that's the most outrageous fucking thing to even ask a lawyer. That's so outrageous and so ignorant for Hitler to have thrown that at her like that. I don't care what anybody says. Being stunned would be the appropriate response from an educated fucking lawyer. The judge should never have made that statement, because she's never made that argument or even alluded to it. That's so she was definitely. I would have been caught off guard. That'd be like, I'm just saying that we're talking about fixing my tire, and you start talking about the fucking moon, and I'm like, what?
No, it's a fight. You're going in there to fight each other. She knows that. By then, she should have known how underhanded the guy is, Hitler. I mean, he couldn't really be much more crooked. But I just think that she should have some good lines ready. You know, like Jose Baez, the lawyer.
No.
You
I'm
oh, you don't
sure
know who he's okay. Well, yeah, he's pretty famous. I thought you'd know his name, but anyway, he always has these really good lines ready for things, and so he lays them down, and then it's hard to fight that. Like if yeah, I just think she should have taken a more aggressive approach to this, but I don't know. She,
once
what
you're
can I
caught up in the
say?
system, the judge is not going to stop the case going forward unless you can show cause that all of these arguments on evidence are suppressible. And if they are, they are. If there's no law or no precedent
Yeah,
to argue that they can be suppressed, then she's got to keep playing that game. I think in some of these arguments she had good footing. I think she made a huge error when she agreed for the FBI to be considered a tip, and none of their work and no explanation, no review, no documentation of what they did to come to his name is going to be presented or even
yeah.
allowed to be argued. That's a huge error on her part, but it's an appealable error. She should
Well,
not
but
have
still, it's an
come
error.
up with it's a big error. I mean, how did they get his name? It was a tip. No, it was not a tip. It was an active
Yeah,
involvement by a Federal Bureau of Investigation that took evidence from the crime scene and ran it through checks and databases to try to find an identity. That's procedural actions taken by law enforcement which in fact violated the Fourth Amendment of everybody in the database. Fuck Brian Kohlberger.
that's
Every
yeah,
fucking living person in that database had their Fourth Amendment violated. Therefore, this evidence should be removed. Okay, and
yeah.
therefore
What's
she
an
couldn't
investigation?
identify my client. Right. See, I think that's really a big that's she's playing with a foul ball. The whole case is a foul ball. If he doesn't
Yeah,
get acquitted by a jury, and I don't care what anybody says, I think he's got a good a case to get acquitted as Karen Reed had. I really do. Because juries are going to want to see the fucking silver bullet. And there isn't one. Now, they're
I
going to
worry
be
about.
beside themselves when they see that there's 7 other DNA samples that the police never even looked at, but they collected them. How the fuck do you collect them and not do anything with them? That's going to be a problem for a jury. They're going to have big questions about that. And here's
I
the
don't
thing,
know.
if Brian was part of a group of people that committed the murders, you can't convict him for the murders.
They might have trouble with a jury in New York, but I don't think in Idaho.
Oh
You
yeah, they
know,
will. Yeah, they will,
yeah,
man.
I hope they do.
In New York, no, because they're all leftist up here. They'll go with it. In Idaho, a lot of those jurors are not. They don't take the narrative that's given to them by the government. They question it. Steve was doing that in the beginning. How he ever did so was Drunk Turkey, the dumb turd, questioning it. And you question and you want to see, okay, that's his car. And oh, you got more video. And which one of these videos really shows it to be his? None? Oh, well, what the fuck you showing me that for?
Yeah,
Right?
connecting the cars with the headlights on trees. It's actually in their court document.
Headlights hitting trees.
Yeah,
Right?
they're saying here's this car, and then you look over here, and there's these headlights on the trees, and then there's another car, and they say that's the same car all the way through.
And it may be. Let's give him that.
Could be, but who knows?
Could be, but a 5-year-old can track cars too, right? Look,
Yeah.
Mommy, there's a white car. Look, Mommy, there's another white car. Look, Mommy, it looks like the other white car. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's
What
a problem.
5-year-old hasn't done that?
Right. And so the jury, so long as the presentation by the defense team makes that point that in none of these images is that car identifiable to belong to Brian Kohlberger, nor are the occupant or occupants of the vehicle able to be identified.
I just don't know if she can do that. I don't know if she's able or capable
of course she is.
of doing that.
She's already done that. By the way. She's already got the ace in the hole with the start time of 4:17. That eliminates all argument about the car. You arguably can't argue about a car if the crime can only be verifiably to begin at 4:17. You could say, well, stuff was going on the camera didn't catch. But Murphy is an unarguable witness that you can't put on a fucking stand. Don't tell me something was happening at 4:08, 4:09, 4:10, and the dog ain't barking.
Right.
The dog barks incessantly from 417 forward. Case over. If that car that you've been tracking, you wasted all your time tracking a fucking car and ignoring the dog. Okay? To your own peril. And people love pets. People have pets. People are going to expect the pet to go fucking nuts when their owner's being stabbed to death, right? They're not going to believe the dog didn't do anything. You can't convince a jury that dog just sat there and did nothing. So the dog is the case. The identification of Dylan, where his image should have jumped off the page. I don't like she said, like she didn't remember his nose. That nose. She pointed out that nose. You'd have thought that it would have jumped off the page, and it didn't. I can't identify that guy. So my point is that there's nothing. And I'm telling you, this is, unless there's other recordings pre 4:17 a.m., this case is over. It's over. Brian didn't do it. Who did?
I think they have issues. I think the prosecution has issues in that giving up any kind of evidence that they could, lie, cheat, and steal to make people believe that it was Brian probably causes other problems for them too. It's like with the car, it's at the wrong time, so it doesn't work.
The car speeds away at 4:20 a.m. There's no way that car carried the murderer or murderers, and they began at 4:17, according to the dog, according to the thump, according to the struggle, according to the whimper, according to Bethany's call to Dylan. There's no way those series of events can be interpreted any way other than that's when the crime began.
Yeah. And the person taking off, speeding away, was speeding away from being one of the probably.
No, it's probably as unrelated as the fucking snowflake that lands in your neighbor's yard to you. It matters not. It's got nothing to do with nothing. Right? That's just one more snowflake in the snow you're going to get tonight. Not that you're going to, but you follow me? It's just another snowflake in a storm. You wasted all your time tracking this fucking car when the dog tells you when the fucking crime started, essentially. And you ignore the 4:17 and the 30 minutes. You ignore the fact that these girls are having a conversation during the commission of the crime. Not after, not before, but during. And when did that conversation begin? At 4:19 a.m. Almost a minute and a half after the dog started going nuts. So
yeah,
I would easily win this case for Brian, and
you would
and turn me on to this by me paying attention, and then it dawned on me a few weeks ago, and that's why you started seeing this on my screen. That's the key to this case, right there for the defense. Suzanne B is not happy with Sergeant Friday. Apparently, he's not. Let me see. Well, you look well enough for me to say hi. I mean, what up, nurse? Well, hello, Susan. Whether you talk to me or not, well, it's your loss. Back to Delby. Do you agree with that analysis as far as starting of the crime and then all the other bullshit that they fed up becomes completely meaningless?
From the point of view of the trial, yes.
Yeah, and that's where the jury, they're going to have
exactly.
to struggle.
Yeah, in the context of the trial, I agree. And if she puts it together correctly, and if I don't know, people in Idaho worry me a little bit. They're just, they don't seem to even care about this. What's going on? You had 2 million people in Idaho, and they don't seem to be bothered by it.
Hang on, I had to
at all.
To my does strike you odd that legislature approved for construction of the firing squad building on March 2023? No, it doesn't strike me as odd. I mean, they're look at our officials are not. They're not here for justice, Terry. They're just not.
No.
That should be what we're paying attention to in true crime. Listen,
yes, exactly.
This point about 417 should be leveled at all the investigators, the FBI, the state troopers, the prosecutor's office, including Bill Thompson and Jennings. How in the hell can you claim that car is involved when the crime didn't start till 4:17 a.m.? What kind of fucking investigators are you people? What were you allowing your cop to follow some guy from 2:47 a.m. and then start following him again at almost 5 in the morning? Why were you following that car? To what end? It's not part of the crime. right? Look, did he drop
Exactly. Yeah.
people? You can make the argument. Listen, if the argument was Brian Kohlberger was part of a group of people that went into that home, and when he heard the noise, he drove away at a high rate of speed. That would be an arguably understandable connection to the facts that they've shared with us at this point. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Brian Kohlberger dropped people off.
Oh,
It would
yeah.
explain the transfer DNA on the button. It would explain that. It would give an understanding to how it could have got on there without any argument. It would have also explained the vehicle they tracked did have something to do with the crime, and the fact that it drove off at a high rate of speed was he got scared when he heard the screaming and the dog barking. That would make sense. That case, that case would be a hard case to take apart, but that's not the case before us, right?
Well, that would make him a good witness.
But he dropped the people off. He's a party to the crime, whether he knew what they were doing or not knew what they were doing. And then he would be you're right, a witness where he could then, in order to save himself, testify against the people he dropped off.
He would have to know that they were going to do something wrong to the residents.
No. If you drive me to a bank and I go in there and rob it and walk out and get in your car and you drive away with me, you're a party to the crime, whether you know it or not. Your knowledge of the crime can't be, only you know whether you had knowledge or not. You're arguing you didn't know is futile. It goes nowhere. You have a bank robber in your seat. It's no different than this situation, Delby.
No, to be a part of a conspiracy, you have to know. You don't have to know what they're going to do exactly, but you have to know they're going to do something illegal.
No. I'm sorry. No. If you're with people that you drop off at a house, they go in and shoot and kill somebody and run back out to your car. You're culpable. It happened to my nephew.
Yeah.
He spent time in jail. Listen, he spent time in jail.
You're right. You're right, because you can't overcome that.
Only you can argue for you, right? And the evidence is contradictive. The situation contradicts your argument. You didn't know he was going to do that. Because you, in fact, dropped him off at the bank, got him in the car, and drove away. Now, you can argue all you want. You didn't know what he was going to do. But how do you can't prove that. The situation says otherwise, Delby. Therefore, you are culpable, whether you like it or not. That's just, it's like, I didn't see a speed limit sign. Well, that isn't an excuse, right? You've heard that before. The same thing would apply here.
I'm just saying that, I'm just saying that conspiracy, to be charged with a conspiracy, but they're just going to say you knew, and that's the end of it.
He's an accessory to the crime. He's an accessory to the murders.
He'll be made that, yeah.
I wonder if Alan Jackson would defend Brian Kohlberger. Yeah, I'm just saying that that case would be understandable and prosecutable. The case that they're presenting us with,
right,
is all based on hocus fucking pocus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no evidence. There's no known evidence.
There's no direct look at. There isn't even and this is the other part. The DNA is circumstantial in itself, unless you can place Brian Kohlberger at that house. And it has to be placed at that house in a time that's consistent with the crime. Right? And you have to be able to show that knife sheath. Like, what if fingerprints were taken from the knife sheath, if any? They dusted it. Did they find any prints? We don't know. So my point is, the argument about the car, the argument about all the pings, is their attempt to provide circumstances to connect it to the DNA and the killings. It's all circumstantial evidence that they're trying to tell a story, and a lot of idiots just buy the story without actually trying to think if it makes sense. And that's where you get the people that scream guilty. Yeah.
There are people out there who can't stand the thought of him being guilty. They're just so sure that he's guilty. And there's no reason to believe that. Especially when you ask yourself when.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You have to ask yourself, okay, yeah. When did they decide that it was Brian? Like, how did they come up with him to be the defendant?
According to Payne, Brett Payne, the FBI gave Brett Payne the name. The name was given to him by the FBI. He doesn't know how they came up with it.
Yeah, see, they had to come up with it somehow.
But that name, just here's the catch-22. That name means nothing unless you can show him at the crime scene, and they can't do that. But what they did do was they showed a guy that's always out driving at night. Okay. They showed a guy that was out driving that night. Okay. They showed a guy that his phone wasn't connected to the network. Okay. And then they then poured that onto the public. What they didn't show the public was the car they tracked from WSU is absolutely not Brian, and that Brian's phone did not get turned off at 2:47 a.m. It remained on the network until 2:54 a.m. heading south on a separate tower that's not discussed or was not searched by the police. So arguably the car they're tracking can't be Brian and is not part of the crime scene. And that's simple math. 1 + 1 is 2. And that's provable within the information that's in the public now. And without Cy-Ray. You don't even need Cy-Ray to show that. Now, when you start getting into the specifics about where Brian's phone was, if it's on towers south of Moscow, that's game over all by itself. But again, it goes all the way back to this simple point of 417. That proves Brian wasn't at the house. Because if he was and he screwed away at 420, you mean he slaughtered these people in 3 minutes flat? He got out of his car, into the house, did the killings, 4 people, 2 different rooms, stabbed one girl 54 times, stabbed another girl an undetermined amount of times, killed a young man, and got back in his car and drove away, and all in under 3 minutes. He did that in 3 minutes. It's impossible.
It's not possible.
And that's reasonable doubt.
You know, even if you had two people going in, 3 minutes is just not much time.
No, look at 3 minutes to kill one person. It could take you 4 minutes to get a purse away from some broad you're trying to snatch your purse from. She could pull an argument, fight with you. You could get into a battle over a purse. And not be able to get the crime done in 3 minutes. I mean, literally, that can happen, right? You could break into a car and not be able. You could break into a car and be a skilled car thief and screw up and not be able to get out of there in 3 minutes. You're not going to unalive or kill. I'm not going to use that term. You're not going to kill and literally stab one woman and smash her and fight with somebody and kill 4 people all in 3 minutes or less. If you can do that, then this country's under threat and we need to start ringing the fucking alarm. If one person can do that, this is bad.
Yeah.
Superman ain't the good guy anymore. Right?
No. Superman's gone bad.
His cape is now black. It ain't red.
Yeah. It's no, 3 minutes, especially if they're saying there's defensive wounds right there, just on that one person, you're over 3 minutes. You know?
Well, getting in the house, you didn't park. They look at if the killing started at 4:17 a.m. They claimed that the car parked at 4:07 plus, right? So 9 minutes before he ever laid a finger on anybody, before the dog started going crazy. 9 minutes it took him to enter that home. But then he unalived four adult human beings in 9 more minutes. Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
And he walked right through, and the door is open.
Wait, my timing is wrong. Listen, even if the door is open, check this out. He parks at 4:07 and 40 seconds. The killings begin at 4:17. So it took him 9.5 minutes to get into the house to begin his rampage. And he not only get in the house by 4:17 and starts his killing, but he completes his killing by 4:20 and is able to run outside, get in his car, and drive away. It took him 10 minutes to get in and only 3 minutes to do the killings. How does that make sense?
It's like someone posted a long time ago. Somebody posted he's incompetent in a car, but a ninja in the house.
Say it again.
You know?
Yeah. He's an idiot with the car, but he's a ninja that's got these crazy dexterity problems. He's got medical issues, right?
Imagine his medical issues. He'd be really dangerous.
I'll bet anybody right now $20 that selfie of him in that shirt was to his family or to somebody that knows about his dexterity issues. And it was showing that he could do his button by himself. I know that's something that we as little kids are proud of when we do it, but I think there probably was some ongoing joke or teasing or whatever within the family, and that photo was taken to show that he can button his own shirt without help anymore.
Yeah, or it could have just been.
Yeah.
It could have just been that he was on time that morning to go to church or do something.
I mean, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with everything. Everybody takes selfies of that. I don't. I'm not one to do that.
Even
but I'm an older guy, and I just don't do it.
Even Howard Bloom took that side in it. He said there's nothing nefarious about that. He took that side against Drunk Turkey.
Yeah. Did he?
Yeah, Daniel was trying to say that there's something, really, really nefarious about that selfie. And even Howard Bloom said, no, I don't see anything wrong with the selfie. I mean,
the dumb turd said there was blood in Brian's hair.
Yeah, and bruises on his hand.
Yeah, he said there was blood in Koberger's hair in that image originally. He's just an ignorant fuck. He's the typical policeman that's no good that we need to vet out of our departments. We don't need idiots like that working for us.
Oh no, not in any capacity. Nah, he can't even guard the phone booths.
I think we should wait for more information, actual factual data on the DoorDash driver. And Lana has a stream. That's why I said, and we've lost 20 viewers since I mentioned that, and it's all good and fine. I don't mind people stepping down to go see what Lana has put together. I would rather do a replay on her because she argues with herself often, and I get it, but she tries
you
to
get it, but you don't want to listen to it.
And I skip through her stream until I can get to what I think is going to be helpful or relevant. And I skip back and forth just to get context and understanding. And I like her stream and I like what she does. I mean, I'm not criticizing her in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, I understand that.
Sometimes it's it is what it is. And I'm annoying too. I talk some crazy shit. I fart sometimes, I burp, I do all kinds of dumb shit. And I could see that, viewers not wanting to be a part of that.
I think a lot of her viewers like her because she kind of lets them. She kind of lets them feel like they're all going through it together to figure it out, and it just takes longer that way. But it's a good live.
Check out.
Actually.
So there is a license plate they're showing on the front of that car. I don't doubt it. I've always said the car is a distraction, that it's the shiny object in the room, and it's got nothing to do with the crime. And also two best friends. And listen, I don't really listen to Jules, and I don't really want to give her my viewership until she steps up and says, I should not have told you or told viewers, there were thousands of them in there, that I'm the equivalent of Dot. When I said, and have been proven to be accurate, that they checked that sheet in 3 specific places. When I said that I was right, I saw it in a document that was released by the state. And now we know they swabbed the sheath, they swabbed inside the belt loop, and they swabbed the button. So I was right when I said that 2 years ago, and she came out and ridiculed me and made fun of me and won't apologize for it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not a huge issue, but it's a big enough issue where common decency should be applied amongst humans, each of us. And I demand that I would give that respect to her. I've even given her that respect. I think she's smart. I think, in fact, that she actually sees things in a similar way that I see things. And I think she's very capable of thinking. But if she's incapable of apologizing, I don't want to be around that kind of a thinker. I've made public that I was wrong about WSU Kim, in as much as there was texting that morning from those girls and those kids. As to what was actually shared with people, what they actually were telling, there's no way to verify what Kim has said, but she's at least right on the fact that these people were in fact engaged in the activities of texting and communicating. And therefore I apologize. Yeah. I apologize for saying she was full of shit because she couldn't produce a receipt. Now that I see the receipt, I acknowledge that I was wrong. And I apologize for being so hard-nosed and I attacked her for it. I wanted a receipt because that's what I say to people. If you can't support what you're saying, don't fucking say it. And I think that's fair, right? I mean, I can't base what those 2 survivors did. I couldn't base on Kim's info because I couldn't verify it being accurate. And I'm not going to trust you. Don't trust me, folks. When I say shit, the documents are out there. That's all I ever refer to. And I've been wrong. And people have pointed it out. So But again, I do think I don't know what Jules concluded, but somebody who brought her up.
It must have been someone in the chat there.
Someone said they used an AI to remove a filter on suspect vehicle 1, and the car has a license plate on the front. That's possible.
It's possible for sure. I'm surprised there's not more evidence that shows who really did it. I mean, even the DNA, the blood DNA samples they have, that's still. Right. I mean, that would be really good evidence if they would pursue it. But I'm also surprised that there's not even more than that.
Well, I know Ann's team, but the problem is money, and I know Ann's team has put up the money to get some of these samples. For example, sorry about that. There was a sample that they referred to by the prosecution that it's unidentified male DNA that does not belong to Brian Kohlberger, but he can't be excluded. And she went fucking crazy over that because that's a good enough. Yeah. You can't say that to the jury. He can't be excluded. Well, what the fuck? So she clarified.
Yeah, what does that mean? Nobody can be excluded.
That means he could be a part of it. That's another way of saying he could be a part of it, right?
They're basically saying we don't know who did it, so it could have been anybody. So it could have been him.
No, I'll make it simple. There's money missing from my house, Delby, and you can't be excluded.
That's right.
I'm looking for who took my money, right? And you're my friend, and there's other people here, and I say, Delby, you can't be excluded. That means you could potentially have taken that fucking money.
Yeah.
And that kind of verbiage is because there's a lack of evidence. There is no direct evidence. And so they use verbiage. They're not stupid. They use verbiage that'll sway someone's mind and their opinion rather than show somebody a fact. And the fact is, we had all these other DNA samples. We didn't really test them. Nah, the FBI told us Kohlberger, and so we decided he's the guilty party. And all we did was trying to convince you that everything we saw is Kohlberger. Right?
Yeah,
that's what they did. This is the Salem witch hunt, 1550.
Whoever's running the show on this, they're far from stupid. I mean, they're really good at this game.
But they're evil.
Evil, yeah.
They're evil. They're psychopathic. Yep. They should be fucking incarcerated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even if this kid did the worst thing, if this kid did do it, I'm telling you, I don't see a jury convicting the guy personally. And that I was astounded that the first jury did the same thing the second jury did. They found her not guilty of murder. They found her not guilty of manslaughter. Nothing changed in that case with the second trial.
Okay.
So my point is that two juries saw it the same way, and she called it a hung jury because of the way they did find her guilty on something. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, my point is, when the juries are given information, like this time they turned over the taillight, a full taillight housing for the jury to realize what it is and how significant this thing is. And the one juror came out today and said, there's images of that car being towed and that taillight is not broken. And that was it for me. Because when it was towed was long after the killings had taken place. He said, so that information is what's clinched it for me. That taillight couldn't have killed the guy. And here's the other thing. How many times have you ever heard of somebody's arm getting hit by a car and it killing them? How the fuck did that kill him?
Wow, it's a good thing it doesn't kill you.
Well, yeah, so I think the juries folks are capable of producing a result that's pretty obvious to the layman when the layman can come to the same conclusion. And the same
just barely. There were people on the jury that wanted to convict her.
Yes, the people.
He said there were.
Yes, but again, those people come in because they're not thinking. But when forced with information within a small group, it's different than it is out here on the internet. You guys got guys like Jeff H. that's got thousands of other idiots that don't think like he don't think. None of them think. They've got a narrative they'll put, and that's it. To the exclusion of all else, Brian did it.
Yeah.
If there was a girl standing in that house with a knife that night, that wouldn't matter to them. Even if there were a picture of it, wouldn't matter. These people are insane to the exclusion of all else. That's how investigations like this, like the Karen Reed case, get fucked up. To the exclusion of all else, Karen had to have done it. Why? Well, because the cops that live there would never do something like that. For cops like me. I believe them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so who did it? Well, Karen did.
Those people, their issues run a lot deeper than just bias. You know, they've got other issues. What's this one?
The timing. Lady got hit by a car a couple of weeks ago. She had lower extremity impacts, kind of like how the experts say there should be. Yeah, look, you get hit by a 6,000-pound car. And look, the other thing that convinced me for sure, without any ambiguity, that this woman didn't commit the crime, and I support the conspiracy theory that they put forward that the cops did it in that house, the Alberts. Here's the thing that got me, was the hoodie that only had puncture marks. That is an inarguable fucking evidence that a dog attacked that guy's arm. You can't look at that any other way. There is no fucking way you did that to the guy and you cut his skin and gouged his skin, but didn't rip that material. No, it's fucking impossible. But the fact that a dog could bite through the material and you could pull your arm away while his fangs are through the material would in effect absolutely cause the damage to the arm that we see. Yeah. Absolutely 100%. There's no way to argue that a dog didn't do that. That had it for me. Over. The punctures in the sleeve and the non-broken tail light when they pulled it onto the trailer, that was it. The case was over. She did not kill this young man.
No.
He was killed in that house.
Yes.
Or in the front yard, or in the garage, but he was killed. And those people connected to that home know how and who.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there were several people there.
Multiple people there. And the plow driver, that was another nice touch. But I'm telling you,
that was great.
The two things were simple: non-broken taillight when you recovered the car from the scene of the crime, or from her own home 2 days later, and the puncture wounds. And a hoodie, a cotton hoodie. That's just not possible.
No.
For a taillight to do that.
Oh no, not. I mean, it's not even. I don't even know how they come up with it. I mean, I'm surprised they even. I mean, they almost got away with it. The people who did it, they almost got away with pinning it on Karen.
They almost did. And all those people involved in that prosecution should be held to a high standard and account. They should all lose their jobs, not because they didn't convict Karen, but because the information they collected to make a case against Karen was so wildly fucking ignorant that they're not qualified to be in those positions. Absolutely.
Oh, exactly.
True. The same thing.
Yeah, it never should have gone to trial against her.
They should never come to that conclusion. That was the most fucking outrageous conclusion, like the Koberger case. None of these conclusions are reachable when you look at the information that they're trying to tell you proves his guilt. The conclusion of a video of a car leaving a college is not proof of a killer. The fact that his phone doesn't report to the network, it didn't. It didn't report to the two fucking towers that you only concentrated on. It was connected to a third tower going south, but you ignored that. See, making these conclusions and moving forward with the prosecution proves you should not be in the fucking position of employed for any law enforcement service unless it's meter reading. And even then, I question your fucking the veracity of your findings. Okay, like my cousin Vinny. I would. These people are laughable. They're an insult to the justice system.
They actually are at the level of that movie. They actually are. It's that bad. I mean,
it's that. But that movie though. Listen, you could excuse the prosecution for its charging of those two. You literally could, because the witnesses all claimed that they saw them. The witnesses identified the car. That case was a prosecutable. I would have prosecuted the case. The way the movie
ended, it was more prosecutable
than Koberger and Karen Reed.
Yeah. Yeah, both of them.
Absolutely. That case was strong. And if you wouldn't have pressed the charges against these kids, you'd have been an idiot. You see? So that case is probably a better case of an example of a justice department or law enforcement agencies doing their job to the best of their ability. And they came to a conclusion that witnesses confirmed. So, I mean, I don't think that that there was any corrupt or they weren't trying to frame.
No, they followed the leads. They followed the leads, and they followed them to logical conclusions, and it just turned out they were wrong. I mean,
that's it with this
unfortunately.
Case. When they followed Brian Koberger's car and couldn't make hides nor hair of it, and couldn't lock down that it in fact is his car unquestionably, the movements of the vehicle that they keep telling you is Brian's car should never be part of this narrative. They should have moved their investigation in another direction. It should have ended. He should have come out. He should have been a suspect. They should have brought him in for questioning.
That's why this case is such a quagmire, because you're new to it and you're trying to figure out what's going on. You're learning about these cars, and it doesn't make any sense at all. Same thing with the DNA, and really everything they throw at Brian doesn't make sense. And so I think that's why you end up with a community that's confused, because it is confusing.
See, I look at things and I try to make sense of the senseless sometimes, and I'm not right about it that often. But when you try to take a picture of what they've shown us, I'm sorry, but I see victims that were killed differently. Ethan and Maddie were killed significantly differently than Bethany and Zana. And when you ask yourself why, you're led to think that's because they were sleeping. But I don't think that even comes close to the truth. I think that those two were being held at threat while Bethany watched on and while Zana watched her boyfriend. And when the attack occurred against their loved one, they jumped in response to try to save them. And that's why they took the brunt of the brutality. But they actually, in my opinion, witnessed the murder of their significant other. And that's why the significant other was able to be taken out so quickly, because they were threatened and they froze. They became a very simple kill. But that simple kill, whether expected or not by Bethany or Zana, that expected kill came. And when it came, whether they knew it was going to come or not, the moment they realized what was going on in front of their eyes, they reacted directly by attacking. And that's why they got a beating. That's why they got hacked up and stabbed so many fucking times. That, to me, fits the data of what we know of the crime scenes to be.
It does fit, especially.
Go ahead.
Especially if they did some damage to the person they attacked. If the victims, like if Kaylee, if Kaylee,
go ahead.
Yeah, if Kaylee, maybe that's her knife sheath. Maybe she had a knife and she cut somebody in her when she attacked, or she hit them in the head with something, or they hurt them, and then that's why they ended up doing the beating and the stabbings.
I think that the two people that were viciously murdered, before that they were murdered, their response to whatever they were witnessing happened to their partner is why they took the brunt of the abuse. And that, to me, fits what we're looking at. Is it right? I have fucking no idea, but it's got nothing to do with the fucking grub truck or the Banfield. Okay, it's only based on the data that we can verify, right? And so that would make it look, that would make a clear, reasonable understanding of why one person got it quick and easy and the other person got it so brutally.
Yeah.
Right. And if that's true, that adds another complexity to the crime. And it also shows you that there were more than one person involved in this crime.
Which there had to be. I mean, I can't see anybody. There's 6 people in the house, it's not, and they all, if it's a random thing with one killer coming in, all 6 of them are equally, exposed to being the victim. So the guy starts going to work on the first one, somebody's going to get out of that house. Probably a couple of them would get out.
And that's why I showed the disparity in that the other 2 girls, their significant others weren't there. The other two girls were isolated from one another. The other two girls weren't in a relationship with each other. Those two rooms uniquely, those two rooms were with people that loved each other. Whether they had an argument or not, whether Kaylee and Maddie had an outing or whatever the fucking deal is, whether she had a boyfriend or not, those two people were together as if they were husband and wife. And I'm not talking sexually, or they were sisters. There was a passion or a loving connection between Bethany and Maddie and Zana and Ethan. That is unarguable.
Yeah.
That's true, right? And that's why I say
they were bonded.
That's why I've come to try to look at the crime scene as potentially being that kind of a crime, where they did hold one, and there was something they wanted from these people. I don't know what it was, and they then, like they said, they took Ethan with the first strike, and that would then have prompted Zana to just go nuts, right?
Yeah,
and you would too if it was a loved one. You would too. You're
Oh,
putting your life,
absolutely.
but you're not thinking about yourself at that point. You're just thinking, "Holy fuck, you just stabbed me." Man, you would go nuts.
Oh yeah.
Right? I don't know. That dawned on me about a week or so ago, and I've only said it's the second time I've actually mentioned it on the stream. But I think that fits the facts that we've been given, and it probably means fucking nothing. It probably has no basis in reality, but it's a summation of the evidence in front of me.
Yeah, it's one way of looking at it. I mean, there's very little to look at to hold together in this case.
Yeah, and it's very, very difficult to accept their timeline. It's impossible to accept the vehicles being part of the crime. It's just the crime occurred, and so when they realized they couldn't put a factual piece of data on Brian at that house, the DNA then becomes no different than my gun found at a crime scene. That gun at the crime scene is not indicative of my participation in the shooting. You need now to find evidence that places me in that fucking crime. If I'm in Tijuana on vacation, clearly I didn't do it. Someone stole my gun. And once you realize that you can't place me at the house, you need to move to another suspect, keeping my fucking name and picture on your investigation board, because somebody may come forward to contradict my fucking alibi, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you should then contact me. You should interview me. And they didn't do any of this with Brian. It makes no sense the way they ran this case. No,
the whole thing doesn't make sense. There's really no part of it that was done in an ordinary way.
There's a lot of things assessments people are making. The order of the crime, was there transfer from one victim to another? I would absolutely say, is there transfer between the victims, between each other in the rooms where the crimes occurred? And I don't mean secondary transfer. Was there transfer from Bethany and Maddie? Or not Bethany? Is it Bethany?
No.
What's her name?
Kaylee.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm bad with names. I'm really bad with names. I don't even know my name. Nonetheless, Kaylee and Maddie, is there primary transfer from them two amongst them? And the same thing with Zana and Ethan. That would then suggest that there was involvement by both of those people against whatever the perpetrator or perpetrators would be. And I'm not talking about secondary transfer when the knife comes out, blood splatters. Is there anything smeared on the arms, the legs, the chest, the face from one victim to another? Or were these two victims completely isolated from each other and there's no way that there would have been any direct transfer? That would be really interesting information to have.
Did you ever look into any information having to do with people being at the hospital? Like people on YouTube were talking about two individuals going to a hospital, but their names couldn't be disclosed.
I don't know. I haven't seen any on that.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
There was a DNA report that Maddie's main contributor was Ethan. I've never seen or heard that before. I've never seen a report about that. I don't think anybody has.
Mm-mm. Well, that would make. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this guy Cole. How did Cole DNA. He's the only one who's like comes out of the blue. You know what I mean,
What, we're telling us stuff that nobody's seen before? What?
Cole Bender. Like who? Well, who is he? I mean, you know, you can expect to see Ethan's DNA under her fingernails and Kaylee's and Xana, anyone in the house really. But this guy Cole, why? How did his DNA get under Maddie's fingernail?
Was his DNA found under her fingernail?
That was reported. I mean, I don't have actual proof of it, but that's what was reported.
Was
because
it,
they had the.
Well, we know there were three DNAs underneath her fingernail. We don't know the identity of those three, do we?
I thought that they identified this Cole Behringer. I mean, that's the way it was presented. I don't know.
That may be. There's people in the chat. Biff doesn't look like Biff is in here tonight, but Twiz may know, and others may know, and you may be absolutely right. I'm just asking it. Was this person identified by a fingernail from under her fingernail?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow that closely. I don't have a channel, so I don't really.
Ethan had the most DNA under Maddie's nails per the documents.
Yeah, but that would make sense. That would be sensible.
Cole was found under her nails. Okay. Becky.
Yeah, and that guy, see, he's not somebody who's in the house all the time. His DNA being under there on that particular night. How many nights out of the month would his DNA be under her fingernails?
Under what context would they even need to be under her fingernails? And
exactly, that's why.
Was it transfer DNA? Or was it? We don't know.
Well, whatever it was, I guess he lives nearby, a street over. Is Twiz in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
He usually knows these things.
Twiz said he thinks he was at the corner club that night.
Yeah, that's.
No, I'm not disputing the fact, Beck, or even Dell. I'm not disputing the data about him being under her nail. I'd like to see it confirmed by more than just it being said. In all fairness, and if it's documented,
I understand that. That's. Yeah, oh, that's fair. Yeah,
I'm not suggesting you made anything up or that it's a lie. I just like to know that it's confirmed. You know.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to include the fact that I can't really pin it down as to what exactly people were saying, but you know, the fact that if Twizzle thinks it was there, I'm sure it was, and but it's something to look into. You know,
Lana had said it. It's coming from Lana's stream. Someone saying that Lana had brought that, and I don't dispute that. I know that they were chasing one guy that he had three brothers. Does that describe Cole? Or is that describe
I don't know.
Kopaka? Does that describe Kopaka? One of their suspects that early on they contacted and asked him for a sample to eliminate him, and he told them basically to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
But he was the person that had three. He was one of four brothers.
Yeah, was he the one at the Othram lab? I think Othram found them.
Yeah, that's down in Othram. And my understanding from Othram was they never would have come to Brian Kohlberger, ever. They were, and here's what I think Lana disagreed with that or stated something the opposite of that, but this is what I understood it to be. Othram would never have made it to Brian Kohlberger. And my argument to prove that is because Othram remained within the allowable databases. And the FBI stepped in and took their data and then started running it through databases secretly behind the back door. And that's a database, Heritage, which does not allow law enforcement in it without a warrant, is where they found Brian Kohlberger's family tree. And that's why that's why they're hiding the FBI from this. They call it
yeah, for sure. Right. Not to mention the size of the profile doubled with the FBI.
Explain they were on the right family tree, but going down a different branch. That's the problem when you have DNA, man. If you don't know who owns it. Okay, so they were on, but to my understanding, they weren't going to come up with Kohlberger. They may have been on the right family tree, but it wasn't going to lead them down to Brian. because the databases they were in didn't go that way. That's probably why they were stuck on the branch they were stuck on, right?
Yeah.
And so that's
and
why
what,
the FBI took the sample. And does that see? And I think it wasn't even high. It wasn't even a high probability hit. It's all statistics, And so you're talking about numbers. And transfer DNA is not evidence of you being at that crime scene or committing that crime. That's the real. No matter what, that's the problem with transfer DNA.
Yeah.
And Lana put forward a stream with somebody just wrote a paper about this case and about transfer DNA. And secondary transfer. You shake my hand, I got your transfer DNA with me now.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna go put it somewhere else. And I've been making that argument for years. She could have scratched his back or something before going to bed or something. That's the kind of things.
It could have been anything. I mean, these are college age people, and they're used to each other. They're around each other a lot. They live together practically. Ethan might not have actually lived there. Who knows? But he certainly was around Maddie, and he hadn't seen her. He hadn't expected her.
It could also be that the weapon was used on Ethan before it was used on Maddie.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here, folks. We don't know we don't know exactly the order in which these young people were taken down. And so the fact that Ethan's was under her fingernail doesn't mean anything more. It means more importantly that potentially it's a high probability that he was killed before her. No, that's as likely as her scratching his back.
Who knows? I mean, he could have just he could have lifted her up, just picked her up and lifted her up. And when they were all like, partying together and she just, he hit him with her hands or something. You know how people play when they're young.
Or it could be what it is. It could be that the struggle that ensued to take her life transferred Ethan's and Cole's DNA under her nail because Cole was the killer.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at it that way as well, or you can look at it in any way you want, and nobody's right until we know, and we probably never will know.
I just don't know why. Well, it seems like people are not pursuing Cole at all.
I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'll be right back. I'll be able to hear what you're doing. So go ahead and explain yourself about Cole. Let me get Twiz off the screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just would like to know why more people are not surprised that Cole's name comes up in this. Everyone else's name that comes up, they've been around. I mean, they're well known. Even when people talk about, David Loach, and there's a picture of him sitting on their couch at 11:22. Well, yeah, of course, that makes perfect sense that he would be there. But this guy Cole, he's older than them and doesn't have the same kind of connection that the other people do with the sororities and frats. And so I'm kind of surprised that people who do investigative work for this on this case, I'm surprised they haven't come up with more on Cole. Is just something that I wonder about. And so I wish I could see the chat. Thanks for clarifying those couple of things, people who did. I don't know where Friday went. Yeah, so I try to keep up with the case as the best I can without. I'm not invested in it the way people with YouTube channels are, and so there's very few channels that I watch anymore because a lot of them, they're hit or miss, and so I just leave them alone. But I tried to get Twizzlestick to fire up his podcast, but apparently he won't do it. So
yeah, he's microphone shy or something.
Yeah,
he's a good guy, but I don't know if he's I don't know. He might have might be a girly man according to Arnold Schwarzenegger. What do I know?
What, Twizzlestick?
Yeah, remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger was telling people you're
No, we have pictures of him. We there's been sightings. He went to the trial, the hearing. One of the hearings.
The girly man. Twiz.
I think a bunch of YouTubers were there at the same time. There was him, and I think A.R. Hayes was there, and
yeah, Hayes
a couple others.
Yeah.
Who?
Everywhere you look excludes Coburger. Yeah, A.R. Hayes was there. Drunk Turkey ought to show up. He'd take up 2 or 3 seats. What did Twist say about a sheath? Twist said something. I'm backing up in chat here. I don't know. It doesn't. It's not easy sometimes. The beard is fake. He wears dyed cotton swabs in a pattern of a beard. That's the way you do it. Incognito with a fake beard. They were on the right family tree going down a different branch. Okay. And I suspect that branch would never have led them to Brian Koberger. Is that fair? Their twizzle stick? Is that your understanding as well? Or am I like wildly inaccurate here?
What do you say?
He hasn't answered yet. So the prosecution said he bought a knife sharpener. And what did he do in the middle of the crime? Resharpen his knife? The whole idea that he bought a knife and sharpener is telling me that there's nothing to do with killing. I mean, that's you go deer hunting with it or something, right? And then you sharpen, you're done, you put it away.
Well, hunting, this is a little bit off, but a lot of people were giving Jack Showalter a hard time because he's a hunter, and so I looked into it a little bit, and it turns out hunting or people who are hunters is not a red flag for a person who would commit murder. That actually very few mass murderers or serial killers, were avid hunters beforehand.
Yeah, so good. Twiz confirmed what I said. And that's what I understood Optum to say. They wouldn't have come to Koberger's name based on the way they were going. And you say it's the wrong branch. Well, the wrong branch could mean anything. Doesn't mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means when they start describing things in a branch, because branches do have a lot of feeders that shoot off it. I know that for real because my neighbor, who had a tree laying on my house when I moved in here, didn't want me to cut the tree down because of global warming. I said, okay. So I said, I'll pay for the whole job. He's like, no. I said, okay. So I hired a couple of Puerto Rican friends to go up on the tree and cut only the branches that came off the main trunk. So when you look at a tree, you got a big fat branch with all kinds of smaller branches that shoot off it that hold the leaves, right?
Yeah.
And I told him, only cut that which has leaves. So when we were done trimming the tree, it was exactly the same height and length that it always had been, but it had been stripped of all the branches that held the leaves, and it was now naked like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And that's how I trimmed the fucking tree that hung over my house. And he came home beating on what'd you do to my tree? I said, I fucking trimmed what was on my property. He goes, but you left the branches. I said, well, it's your tree. If you don't like it, cut it down yourself. I slammed the door in his face. Go fuck yourself. A week later, he had a tree surgeon out there chopping the tree down, and he paid for it himself. But I had to cover the whole cost. If he'd have just been reasonable, it was destroying my foundation. It was laying on my roof and in my gutters. It was fucked. It was blocking the sun from hitting my pool. It was physically an issue. It wasn't like I was just trying to be a jerk because I hate trees. It was causing problems on my property.
Yeah.
And therefore, but you should have seen it. I should have didn't. I'm not one of those people that run around with their phone taking pictures. I wish I had taken a picture of that tree when we were done with it. It was the most epic tree trimming in the world. Then he fucking cut it. What an idiot he is. I haven't talked to him since then. Fuck you and your tree. That's awesome. Yeah. See, I don't mind fucking with people if they ask for it, because I mean,
if they ask for it, yeah, they get it.
I said, look, this thing's growing into my foundation. It's look at these big branches and all these leaves, and when the wind blows and it scrapes my roof, it pulls the granules off the shingles, it fills my gutter. Can I please take this tree down and I'll pay for the whole thing? No. Global warming, we need these trees. You fucking twit. I'll plant one somewhere else. No. Okay. But the law says you can trim anything over your own property. Anything that's over your property line, you could trim. Okay. Stupid motherfucker, you just don't know what that means when you do that shit to me. We shall play a game. All right.
Yeah.
What was that? There was that movie. Do you want to
On
play
that
a
one,
game?
I would go so far as to cut it down, even if it wasn't legal, because how much trouble are you going to get in?
No, I wouldn't do that. No, you can end up being sued, civil issues. There's a cost to a tree. No, it's not worth that. Listen, it was so much more rewarding to pay $150 to trim all the feeder branches off of the main limbs and leave them empty. And this, you're talking in July, okay, when a tree is supposed to be in full bloom. It was the most epic sight you'd ever see. That's what I listen. I lived somewhere else and had a neighbor that used to bury his dog shit near the fence, and I had a garden there. I was like, dude, you can't do that. Your dog's a carnivore. You can't. My vegetables can't get anywhere near that because it'll poison me. I don't know if you're aware of that, but carnivore feces you can't fertilize with. Cows and chickens and anything that eats grasses and hay, that you can fertilize with. Horses, not dogs, not wolves, not lions. Okay, there's bacteria in there that'll kill you. So he didn't listen to me. So he pointed, well, he said, I don't know if that's true. Anyway, so and he had a lot of bushes along the fence where he was burying the shit. So I went outside one time about 3 a.m. I got a fucking gallon of Roundup and I sprayed the whole fucking line of bushes where he'd been burying his shit. A couple days later, they're all wilting and dying. And he says, this is weird. I go, what? He goes, all my stuff's dying. I said, I told you not to bury dog shit near your plants. I told you to keep away from my garden.
You were right there with the explanation.
He was perplexed. Oh, I was waiting to share it with him. I couldn't wait for him to ask. I was like, I'm not surprised burying dog shit over here all
You're a good neighbor.
I am one of those neighbors that you can trust. Oh my God.
Well, you told him the truth. Burying the dog shit there is what caused the problem.
And it did. It triggered me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd go in my backyard to swim with my daughter, and he would leave the hole open. And so rainwater would collect in the hole, and it would start to disintegrate the shit and stink up the whole backyard. He's like, well, the shovel's right there. You can just reach over the fence and cover it. I said, dude, I'm not playing with your dog shit. He's like, oh, and he was all aloof about it, and he kept doing it. So I was like, all right, I'll get your ass, motherfucker. I'll kill your whole fucking yard. I'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the next fucking 60 days if I need to, and I'll hose down the wood in your house. I'll hose down with something that'll eat it alive, you motherfucker.
And did he really go on just believing that the dog's feces killed his plants?
I don't know, but he stopped burying shit on this side of the yard. I really don't care what he believes, but even if he doesn't, he realized it was me. He had to get the idea that I'm not going to fucking play. I'm being nice.
Right.
I'll be as nice as I can with anybody. But if you're going to fuck with me just because you can, you picked the wrong fucking guy. You literally picked it. You just shouldn't have done that. Don't take my kindness for weakness. And that's
no, you got to make a statement. You got to take care of business.
I'm telling you, I wish that taking pictures and selfies and all that was a thing back when I did that to the tree. You should have seen the look on the guy's face. What did you do to my tree? Oh, you told me I could trim anything on my property line, but that's not trimming the tree. I said, listen, I'm not a fucking tree surgeon, brother. My problem were the leaves and the branches that held the leaves rubbing against my roof when the wind blows. Those big trunks that come off your tree don't move in the wind. Okay? They're not my problem. Problem solved. Slam. Holy shit, says Stan Allen. Lana is destroying the prosecution right now. Yep, I'm going to catch her stream in the morning, but I don't want to hold people in here because we all get along. We all been around each other for a long time. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be over in Lana's stream listening to Lana's stream. So I'm going to shut this down. And the 98 of you that are in here, does anybody have the link to Lana's stream? Any of the mods? The Truth and Transparency? Because if you post that link, post it on my stream, and the 98 people that are in here are welcome to go join that.
Yeah. Are you gonna shut down your show, or are you gonna keep going?
Yeah, I'm I'm gonna shut mine down. I got some couple things I want to do that's not internet related. I want to run.
Yeah.
I got one of those robot vacuums. Those things kick
Oh, yeah?
ass. Oh,
Oh, really?
and they vacuum better than you or me. Literally.
Jeez.
Yeah, they get in all the cracks and crevices right up to the baseboard. It's fucking badass, man. And,
Wow.
yeah. And so I turn it on while I'm watching TV and watch it fly around the room and do its thing. It goes to the kitchen, goes to the dining room, goes to the living room. It's like, yeah. Sometimes it gets hung up. And I it's my fault that it does that. So when it does, then I'm there to take care of it. That's why. And I'll read some science fiction shit, maybe talk to Grok for a minute. But yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I think I'm going to go watch Lana for a little bit.
Yeah, we got him. He didn't even realize that that's how you get out of my stream. I just boot your ass, okay? Uh-oh. Lana is in a loop. Unloop her. Unloop the Lana. Spelled backwards as anal. Someone go kick her in her anal cavity and get her out of the loop and turn her back into Lana. All of you that do go from here to there, let Lana know that I recommended that you guys go from my stream to hers, and I posted a link for her. And you guys all have a good night. Like I say all the time, be good or be bad. And if you're going to be bad, don't get caught. In the meantime, folks, we will talk to you again sometime soon.